Do you know that almost every single episode I have on here is about writing excuses? It's not titled that. I can't title 100 videos just writing excuses, part one, part two, part three, part four. It never ends, and that's why I give names to them. Yeah, a lot of things are, the writer's development, but mostly your biggest block in terms of your own development and your abilities to convey your thoughts in words, especially written words, mostly that, writing, excuses. You think you can't do it, or you can't do it for this reason. It gets more obscure the deeper you go and the further you go. You will find an excuse for everything. You're going to test your own creativity here. It's unbelievable how much creativity goes into creating excuses when you could be using that same creative mind to start writing already. And overcoming them is all it takes. That's all it really takes as a writer to get started. It's just saying, yeah, I come up with excuses and I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. And I want to take a little more control over myself as a writer. That's the first step. And it's the most important step. How are you going to proceed forward from there? What kind of ways are you going to go about moving beyond them? That's your own writer's journey. That's what's so unique about what you're going to say and how you say it. It's how you move past them. Because no one wants to write straight ahead. No one wants to just go to the page and, sit down for 2 minutes. Everyone wants the book without writing the book. Everybody wants to think the book into existence without actually having to do any work. And the thing is, it's technically not work because when you're really doing it right, it doesn't feel like that. It just feels natural. It's leisurely. It's this luxurious activity that you can partake in writing. That's why it's been reserved for pretty as long as it's been around. For the most part of its history, writing has been this upper class society thing, this thing that you're lucky to be born into a world where you're even able to write. And reading itself has always varied. People in different terms of different timelines, different points in the timeline of civilization have been able to read. Now everybody can read. When I'm recording this right now, I don't know if the world has changed so dramatically by the time you're watching this, but you can check out any book you want. You can go to your library, and it's funny when you say, go to your library. People are like, oh, it's such a foreign idea. Library, why the hell would I do that? What's there for me? Exactly, what's there for you? Um, Books will always be around, but writing, that's something that is actually very selfish, and not in a bad way. Not everything selfish is bad, right? Because what's selfish? The desire to sustain yourself, the desire to consume nutrients, right? You're going to eat something, you're going to live, but because you're able to live, you're able to provide with certain people around you, you're able to perform certain roles. But it was a selfish want to eat, right? But no, it contributed to something greater, to something larger. So writing is incredibly selfish. Yes, it is. It's incredibly vain because it implies you have something to say that is warrants being written down. But actually, it's the opposite. That's the wrong way of looking at it. Actually, it's the very concept of value is warranting from you a need, a necessity for you to actually get those thoughts. It's asking you. You're not asking it. It's asking you and pulling you in. The center, the mass of what gravity of what writing is like centering you around its orbit and saying, hey, come here. Like, I want you to write. I want you to get those thoughts out on the page. I'm inviting you. Writing is doing that. And writing is larger than any of us. It's me, than you, however many people will watch this video. It's more significant than any one person can ever be because it doesn't die. It lives on, and you get to know that. You get to be a part of that. You get to contribute to that as a whole, whatever it means. You will have your own ideas of what writing means for the world. I talk about my own ideas of it sometimes. I strongly believe in them. That's why I talk about them. But I want you to have your own as well. And from that, I hope you disagree with me on some things. All I want is for you to have your own thoughts and opinions on this kind of stuff. And you will. The stuff that really matters, you're going to be thinking all on your own. And again, as a whole, I want you to just be wildly aware of this idea that excuses run rampant. I say wildly aware because excuses are wild. They're everywhere. They're running free in your mind. Like it's like a wildlife channel. You see all these animals just running across the forest and or swinging from the forest, running across the tundra and the desert, just crawling around. All this stuff. That's what excuses look like in your brain. And if you want to take a nice, pretty photograph of it, look at all the times that you wanted to write, but you didn't. Wasn't it always kind of different each time? It wasn't always the same. It wasn't always the same day that you relived on loop, on repeat. Even if it felt like it's something, a few things were different, but there was always a reason why you didn't write that day, why you didn't start writing that day. And what was it? What's the similarity? What's the this concurrency, this thing that never changes? No, it's an excuse. It's this nice little label I could put on things. Oh, I'm excusing myself. That's when people use that word in that context. I'm going to excuse myself in this conversation. I'm going to go, excuse me, in an interruption, some kind of reasoning, some kind of almost like this polite thing that you're bringing up, this pleasantry that you're including in your conversation. May I be excused? You're doing that. May I be excused from writing excuses? How many do you have? What do they look like? Do they even look like anything? Is it just, do they just happen? Next time you want to write, ask yourself, like, why did I not do that? Why did I was able to, I had the time. I was just sitting there by myself. I don't always have time myself, but I did this time and I didn't. Writing supposedly matters to me. I would love to have a book. I would love to have my own, short story collections. I'd love to have all this stuff. Why am I not doing it? Why am I not writing when I supposedly want to so badly? Because you're being polite with yourself. Isn't an excuse always to save some kind of pain? If someone's talking and you interrupt them, someone's talking, like, yeah, so this happened my day. Oh, so this happened, like, let's say, or, people sneeze, like these sound, excuse me. It's basically saying, hey, I didn't mean to, I don't want to cause you any pain, but I did interrupt you. Or I'm going to interrupt you right now, which is hilarious, right? I'm going to completely derail your train of thought, but excuse me, I got to tell you, I got to leave. I know what you're saying is so important, but goodbye, excuse me. Or, adding your own thoughts in. You're doing that to yourself. It's always rooted in some kind of politeness. You're probably a pretty kind person on the inside, maybe not always on the outside, but deep in here, yeah, you are. You're really polite. And it's just kind of that continuation. Again, it doesn't mean you're like greeting everybody with a smile every day and you just look like the most pleasant person in the world, but you've got a good heart. Writers have good hearts. That's where you're coming from. You want to share something. You want to communicate something. You're not greedy. You're not keeping it all to yourself. Again, that's selflessness. Yes, it's vain to say you have something to say that deserves being in a book. It just is. Why are you writing this down? But again, it's not really that. It's not going in that direction. It's the opposite direction that's pulling you. It's writing itself that wants you to put those words on the page. And you've got to learn to not excuse yourself. Something is being said. There is some dialogue. There is some conversation that's going on inside your head. You've got to stop leaving. You've got to stop leaving that connection that's trying to build within you, this inner writer, and your whatever you consider your identity, whatever you attach this person who bears your name. The person, when you look in the mirror, what is that, right? There's something inside of you, and it's trying to talk to that image that you see in the mirror. And you're saying goodbye. Why are you scared of it? What do you fear? Do you fear what it could become? Do you fear what your life could look like if you've written something? Or are you avoiding it? Are you actively trying to seek out a way to do you want it to forget that you exist? You might think that writing is all about you. No, you're going to be all about writing. It's the other way around. And it's this great friendship. Like I said, it's this connection that you build with it. You can say no. If you excuse writing enough, eventually it will leave you. And that might be what you're doing. You're saying, look, I'm really not that interested. Just go away, leave me alone. But you're not saying it directly. You're just kind of pushing writing away. And it will leave you. It's a calling. And you can say no to a calling. That's the thing. It's painful. It's a whole journey to it. There's a lot of pain that can be involved there. A lot of self-denial that can come from denying a calling. But eventually, if you say no enough, guess what? It's gone. And if you want to keep excusing yourself from writing, be my guest if you really want to say goodbye to it. But I'm here to tell you what it brings to your life is something so transformational. It's more than you can imagine. It's this silencing that you can bring your mind. It's what you always wish you could have bought from somewhere. Like it's not a drug, but it's something that allows you such a deep insight into people, into the world around you, and yourself, most importantly, right? Everyone wants to know about themselves. Everyone wants to hear about themselves. Wouldn't you like someone who would just listen to what you have to say? I guess what? Writing will listen to everything you have to say, and it'll teach you more about yourself because you'll finally have something that listens to your thoughts. If you want to write, but you find yourself excusing yourself, you may just be bursting with, like, it's just coming through you. Like, I need to talk about this. I need to discuss this. I need to put this story somewhere, this idea somewhere. And you can't find anybody in your life who to share it with. Not because you don't trust the people around you. Maybe that's the case. Maybe, but not necessarily. But once you kind of allow yourself, your inner self, to be the one who you engage with, you'll find what it creates is something beyond really belief. But yet you don't have to believe it. It becomes right in front of you. You'll fill up a page, you'll fill up 10, you'll fill up a whole book's worth. Check out writinglong.com. On my website, I have this guide to give. Basically everything you need to get started in writing a book. It's completely free, by the way. Grab your copy on my website. All right, I'll see you, and thanks for checking out today's episode. No more writing excuses, or at least less, right? Understand what they mean. Stop excusing yourself from writing.